when it comes to Rich Paul, I think he's very, very reputable, very intelligent. Not just a real good friend of this show, good friends of Cam. You know, I know him. You got good friend of Mose, and I would say he's very integral. So I wouldn't think that he would be the guy that gets on any podcast and say something that's untrue or rage bait or any of those things that you could think of. But I want to take another turn. When every time I speak, it's not that I don't know the information. I think my portion to contribute to the show is to be very objective. And I think we get to this place where, like you're saying, Mo, there's people that we agree with and there's people we don't agree with just because of the nature of our relationships. And not just in this Rich Paul situation, but every situation. If we like somebody, then we can see the good in what they're doing, and that's just life. If you don't like somebody, you're more likely to see the wrong in what they're doing. And I want to look at another portion of this conversation that we got to think about, and that's that we are in a time where things should be separate, right? There's a lot of things that people do in life that we all, if we were to have a real deep conversation, say, nah, he shouldn't be doing that. Or this person, because of this status, they shouldn't be doing that. I mean, people told me that my whole life. Like, yo, you can't do this and this, or you can't be here and there. You can't have this at the same time you have that. So which one is it? I'm kind of lost in the conversation. That would be a real good conversation. What can you do now that you're an agent? Now that you're a GM, or what can you do now that you say you're a basketball player? Because sometimes we get upset that basketball players are having podcasts, and as long as you're doing it well, it seems like people will allow you to do it. But the moment you stop doing the main thing correctly, that's when people should have a problem with it. But that's a conversation I really would love to ask you guys. After Cam's take, I didn't want to line step because Cam always think I'm line stepping him. So after you have that, I would love to see put the camera on him so you can see what I'm dealing
Plotting
with.
on line
what I'm dealing with.
Yeah, like,
Line stepping.
this is crazy, yo. You go before me every tape, so I always use line stuff because I sit and be patiently waiting for everybody to go. I think what you said, Mase, is a great point. People try to put you like you can do this or can't do that. If you're doing it all well, you can't complain.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. Once you stop doing what you do well, then they're gonna complain. Like same thing will be like make the main thing the main thing. Now, if Paul George, right? Let's just use Paul George. Mm-hmm. If he was averaging 33 points, 7 assists, and 6 rebounds, and Philadelphia was winning, and he was podcasting 3-4 times a week, you wouldn't complain.
Yeah.
But if he's winning, but because he's not winning and he wasn't playing, you're gonna have a problem doing this. I'm problem with him podcasting, so to speak. People got a problem right now with Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Tom Brady's the owner of the Raiders.
Yes.
But he's broadcasting every weekend for Fox, I believe. If it's not Fox or it's Fox. Yeah. So I don't know if you people know this. When you broadcast for the game, before the game, you talk to both teams and you get insight from both teams on how they practice during the week or what players are injured or what plays they're gonna run. So that when you're announcing the game, you're more knowledgeable to the fan that's watching the game.
Yes.
But if you're giving Tom Brady this information and he's an owner of a team, how much of that information can he take as a broadcaster and now save the information and use it as an owner? They had a problem with him because he had the headphones on and was up in the Raiders skybox one day against a team, Raiders playing against a team that he interviewed a couple weeks before. What can you do and what can't you do? If you can do it and get paid, then you can do it and get paid. But at the end of the day, when it comes, I was just, going back to what you said, what you can and can do. Jay-Z, he owned the Brooklyn Nets, but you can't own the team, even though it's a small percentage, you can't own the team and have a sports agency. So you have to let the team go. If niggas find loopholes, they're gonna find loopholes to do whatever they want to do. Now back to this situation with Austin Reeves and Rich Paul. I ain't even talking about that situation. Whatever. It just, to me, Austin Reeves comes off as a bitter former basketball player. Like he's bitter about everything. His career didn't go the way I think he wanted it to go. I thought he was a decent role player throughout his career, but he just comes off so bitter and angry, not just with Rich Paul, just anything. He's always angry, like, yo, bro, what you mad about? You grew up in a good household. You had a mother, you had an NBA father, you had a very decent career. I know it might have not have lasted as long as you wanted to, but you seem bitter. You seem very bitter, man. That's all I really have to say about the situation, because I took my time up talking about other things. But as far as this situation, it's not too much. He just comes off bitter about anything he's talking about. Doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah, so you made the difference between Jay-Z and what he had to separate in order to be an agent or agency. And is there really, should everything really be separate? Maurice, what do you think?
In the context of this, I don't think that this should be separate. When I look at this thing, like outside of my personal feelings for Austin Reeves just talking crazy about Rich, the real issue that I have with it is that we can't complain that Black people don't sit in authoritative roles and Black people can't be owners, and they sit in these situations to progress just how people view us, how they look at us, and just how we can operate, versus how agents and agencies and all of these management companies used to operate before. We can't have people sitting right there and criticize it, right? So I don't know, I think we're in uncharted territory. Like, I don't know what's right and what's wrong, but I'm definitely not about to say what he's doing is wrong just because I've never seen it. And I don't think it's a conflict of interest. I think that anybody, like, people criticize just because they've never seen it before. They'll criticize you and say it's wrong versus, okay, what is he doing? And they're sourcing the facts and say, okay, is it a conflict of interest? It's not, right? But just because other agencies operated the way that they did doesn't mean the way that Rich Paul is doing it is wrong. And I think he is right. You'll have other people following suit, and this will be a way to market, or this may be the way to interview. Like, one thing I wanted to say before this was that, think about this. You have kids who will play their whole life. They'll come up in inner city New York, inner city Chicago, inner city LA, and they'll work their ass off to get to a point, and they interview an agent literally for about 2 or 3 months. And then you work your ass off the entire life. You meet a man for 2 or 3 months. You really don't know who he is. You really don't know who to ask. Your mother, your father, your aunt, your uncle, nobody even knows what to ask. You just been past this person. Who's to say that a mother, or uncle, or father sits down to see Rich Paul and say, okay, maybe I should ask this person this, or maybe I should ask this person that, or maybe I can call Clutch up to see if they're a good fit for my son. Like, that whole agency thing has been controlled, and I'm not racist by any points, but it's been controlled by white men who literally pass one athlete and the resume that they have to the next person, right? And I think that he gets criticism because we're just, like, I just keep on saying this, you're not used to seeing Black people in charge. So anytime you see Black people in charge, they become more critical of anything that Black people do. That's my opinion.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I'm really just solely thinking this over in my brain, because that's something, like, me as a person, I definitely struggle with that. If there was a struggle to have, it's like you have gifts and you have talents that sometimes those two talents don't go together, but they, to some people, but you just were given more talents than other people. And I think as a person, you have to be faithful over both for everything that you've been given. Like me, I feel like I got a good life, but I feel like I only use 30% of my real life. I think I got like 70 or 75% of a whole nother ability. And it's sometimes really, really thought-provoking when I hear people say stuff like this, because sometimes I think if I had a hell of a life and I only use 30% of it, I'm only really using 30% of my brain, and people like what I've been able to accomplish.
Yeah. I'm doing what the fuck I can do until they tell me I can't do it. So that's just that. Like, yo, you can't tell me I can't do this, but I think I can. You know what I'm saying? Like, like we talking about Jay-Z with the sports agency shit. Only reason he's not an owner and the agents because it's against the rules.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not against the rules and he could do both, he would have did both. It's the same thing like this show. If I would have went to niggas and say, yo, me and Murder gonna do a sports show, niggas would have laughed at me. You know what I'm saying? Because they want to put you in a box as a rapper.
Yeah.
And so if you sit there and say you're gonna do a sports show, and then look how it changed the landscape of media, period, especially sports media.
Yeah.
This show. So what I'm trying to say is, you're not ever gonna tell me I can't do nothing, and I'm not gonna care unless it's damaging my credibility and the main thing that I'm getting money for, or it just doesn't look good. But for me not to try it, come on, man, that shit sound crazy. To me, just me. I'm gonna do everything I possibly can. I'm gonna use 100%. I'm not gonna use 30. I know Murder on cruise control. I ain't giving a straight. I'm gonna give you 100%, man.
Yeah,
Until the wheels fall off.
Yeah, I remember Killer was listening to a record. He said, "Yo, Murder, we gotta put this out." I said, "Killer, I did that last time. The church ladies killed me over this, right?" And we was just laughing about it. Because it does. Like, sometimes you have things that you're doing, like Killer said, that damages the credibility of another thing. But we could say this in this situation. But when you got Paul George getting 39, I mean, when they're winning by 17 points and he got 30-something points, and he won a podcast, he should be able to podcast because it's not taken away from this thing. Like we said, some people just got more, they've been granted more talents than others, and they should be able to do that. Yeah. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I just want to add my 2 cents. It's a lot because the world is just evolving so much, so people have this expectation that things are supposed to be done a certain way, and it's, I mean, in Rich Paul's case, it's like, I always think it's better to be ahead of the curve than waiting till everybody else starts doing that. So like, really in this sense, he's seen as a pioneer because it's just not what people are used to. And of course it's like a new thing too. So it's like deciding how much you want to say, what you feel like you're allowed to say. But also to Cam's point, it's like, if nobody's telling you can't say certain things, by then you are allowed to kind of share what you feel is right, or you feel is knowledgeable to other people, or whatever you think might be helping others in that sense. So I just think it's one of those things that people aren't used to. And of course, just with Austin Rivers and even his delivery, because I didn't read this part of the quote, even though I read most of it, but he said, you're supposed to be in the background running all the other stuff. Like, when you make statements like that for somebody that is highly successful, it's like, we then want to discredit everything that you said because you're not even handling the situation with any sort of light. Like, you're dishing out disses to something that you
He's
are
being
still
a
figuring
YON.
out too.
That should be a new term.
A YON.
Yeah, a young old nigga.
The young.
Like he's
yeah, they need a term because literally, like,
he's young, but his brain is still in the past.
Yeah, so it's just a lot. It's like, exactly to your point. Oh, why I went, because that's what it's coming across of. That's how it's feeling. So just all those unnecessary comments. It's just like, you could disagree with something, but also go about it a certain way. That's my opinion. But before we go to break, I do want to go back to what you said real quick, because you did say there's like a 70% that you feel like you're not using. What makes you feel like you should preserve that rather than
Killer hit it on the head. Pause. When he talked about, like, when it challenges the integrity of it, and that's the conversation that I was really alluding to. When it challenges the integrity of it, that's when it has to be in reserve. Like me, for instance, if there's a certain, like, I do this podcast, I do this show, like Killer is like one of the, like, really special people to me. But I do stuff outside of this that doesn't go with this, but it can go if your brain is open to it. But then there's 70% of some other stuff that I could have the potential of doing. But when it clashes, when it clashes for the people you're supposed to be helping, that's when it damages the integrity. So in this case with Rich Paul, if it doesn't damage the athletes, he can do it. When it gets to the point where the athletes are feeling like, well, wait a minute, you're using this to go against something that you're supposed to be working on for me, that's when there's a problem. So if I have a whole nother world of people in this direction, and they're like, you know what? I think it doesn't bother me that you do those things. Then I am more freer to do those things because I made a commitment to do this, so then I should value that. If I'm not, it's like having a wife, right? If your wife say you could have that, then you pretty much could have that.
Yeah.
And that's like an open-ended statement.
Yeah, I was just saying that's a really good breakdown because it's like, you're creative, you like multiple things, and you can kind of have your foot in different things because you're multi-talented and multi-passionate. Like you like multiple things, but it's also just trying to make sure, that you're dotting your I's, crossing your T's to make sure you're not stepping into other pools while you're filling up each one individually. So
yeah, that makes sense. Like sometimes, let's say if I was in a church setting, right?
Yeah.
There'll be people that go to church that feel like you can do that. Then there's a group that feels like you can't do that.
Right.
So you're trying to navigate really like 3 different worlds. You got a family world, you got an entertainment world, then you got a spiritual world. These are like 3 worlds. Like so my brain is constantly moving, trying to figure out, okay, how do I effectively do what I'm really committed to? And these other things are just entities that I could live from. But they can never compromise these things, right? But then you'll have people that go to the church, like that's young people that's like, they want to hear you express yourself creatively. But then you'll have the traditional people that'll say, wait a minute, you got to pick one.
Right.
Right? But realistically, to be honest with you, you're gifted at all those things. And anytime you try to be just one of them, you're lying.
Yeah.
Because all of those gifts were gifts that you were given. And if you try to take one and just say, I'm only going to be a church person, or I'm only going to be a musician, or I'm only going to be just a husband, then you're really lying to the other 2 all the time.
Yeah.
Right? So even me and
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Let me ask you, so do you believe you actually suppress your development doing that?
I think gifts can be
I'm talking about just
developed.
individual.
Yeah,
I'm talking about
if
individual.
people are doing that to you, they're not just suppressing you. You would be suppressing yourself. They would be oppressing you. Because they would be keeping you down because they weren't given that other 70%. So they're basically saying, since you're out of the box, because realistically, a killer would give me a script. I could do a script. I could be an actor. I could be all of those things. But and that may sound really arrogant, but just think about that. Sometimes I sit down and really think, if I've been able to achieve what everybody else been able to achieve with only 30% of my brain.
Yeah.
Like I only come out the house for about 2-3 hours.
Yeah.
And I get to do what they've done with their whole 24 hours.
Yes. So I probably asked the question wrong, but what I was saying was that, do you suppress Mase's development yourself by having to think too much and navigate those spaces and sort of suppress something that could be helpful to you, to somebody else, right? I definitely agree with you. Like, I do things in multiple industries because they all make sense to me. So if you've seen just the industries and business that I'm in, you'll say, okay, he's about in like 5 or 6 different industries, but they all make sense to me because they're all part of me. But me being able to explore them, make money in them, and develop them, it kind of helps myself and everybody else who's connected to me. So I was asking you, like, and the first thing I thought of was like, is that the reason that he doesn't put music out? Because it may be viewed, or maybe a conflict with people who he lead in the church. You know what I'm saying? I just started to think about more as you were talking to Stat.
Yeah, a lot of that makes sense. But we're gonna have to go to break, or we'll end up in a
whole doozy. But one thing I will add though, which is really dope, and I just think that was like a good discussion in general, is like, I know you said you're still keeping 70%, but also the fact that you've been able to do so much in so many different areas is something that people like are just waiting to do. You know what I'm saying? So I think that speaks volumes, and is also just a good like representation that like you can do other things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's what makes it a sacrifice, I guess.
Yeah. No, it does. Literally does. So That's super dope to hear. But y'all, we're gonna go to break. When we return, we will discuss Bill Belichick. Are they doing him dirty? Don't go anywhere.
All right. We got a break there, because Bill Belichick and the Hall of Fame conversation is up next, and we're not letting y'all miss that one. Between the Rich Paul debate, the 70% of my brain breakdown, and Cam calling Austin Reeves a bitter young old head, this episode got deep fast, and honestly, it was a great one. But real talk, y'all. Appreciate you pulling up and sitting through this whole conversation with us. Drop a comment down below and let us know your take on Rich Paul wearing multiple hats, because we know that's gonna get people going. We read every comment, so let us know where you land. And look, if you made it through this entire deep dive, you already know exactly what type of show this is. So do us a favor, like the video, subscribe if you're not locked in yet, and turn them notifications on, because we're coming right back with the Belichick conversation. And trust me, you don't want to miss it. All right, that's us for now. It is what it is. We'll see y'all right after this. Don't go nowhere.